back in the spring, I introduced the Students in Schools Rescue Act, meant to be a lifeline to kids that are trapped in these failing schools. The bottom 5%, folks, the bottom 5% that are chronically failing and have been failing. Where some schools, 17% of their kids are proficient in reading and math. 17%. And folks, the questions I hear often from the opponents are, well, will this plan be accountable? Let's first talk about what's not accountable. It is not accountable to continue to send billions of taxpayer dollars to these schools that are chronically failing and to expect a new result maybe next year, or to send more money. Folks, that's not accountable. The status quo is not accountable. So this plan will offer a level of accountability that, in my opinion, is probably the strongest barometer of accountability, and that's parental choice. A mom or a dad choosing to take their son or daughter out of a violent school and send them to another school. Folks, parental choice and parental involvement is the strongest layer of accountability. The second question I hear is, can we afford House Bill 1708, the Students in Schools Rescue Act? Well, first, we can't afford the status quo. We can't afford sending more and more money into schools that continue to fail and expect a different result. We can't afford the status quo. But we are in tough economic times, and we do spend a tremendous amount of money on public education. So let's look at the numbers of this plan. Folks, this plan represents one-tenth of 1% of education spending in Pennsylvania. 1/10 of 1%. There's a lot of fiscally conservative people in the House Republican caucus that want to make sure we're managing the taxpayers' dollars responsibly. And in my opinion, this will be a responsible use of taxpayer dollars to help kids that need it the most, and it represents 1/10 of 1% of spending on public education. Tax dollars in this Commonwealth are meant to educate the kids of this Commonwealth, not a system, not a public school system, in my opinion. And a lot of my colleagues believe that. And the next speaker, Representative Stephen Bloom, he believes that our job is not to educate a system. Our job is to educate each individual child, and those dollars should be able to follow that child to at least a safe environment. And that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about getting kids out of failing, violent schools, and I don't think the House can continue to wait. I urge the House to act, and I ask all of you and all the kids up here to ask my colleagues in the House to pass the Students in Schools Rescue Act so we can send a generation a lifeline. I introduced the Students in Schools Rescue Act back in the spring, which was meant to help kids that are not just in failing school as far as academic performance, but also violent in the sense that in that bottom 5%, in my bill alone, there's been over 5,000 violent incidents just last school year. So it is a problem that many parents and many students face, and I want to help solve that problem for them.